Yes.
Can we have the two DPMs to share their thoughts on their new portfolio and their appointments?
Chee, Home Affairs.
Well, first of all, for this cabinet, it's a clear transition to a third generation leadership, with the beginnings of the fourth generation leadership taking responsibility and finding their ground. The first and second generation leaders have laid the foundation for modern Singapore. And there's this question of whether or not, we ought to continue with policies that are good. I think that in the review, we will also remember the key principles that the first and second generation left for us in building the modern, successful Singapore, the outstanding and exceptional country, which I think we're also proud of. So we have to maintain those key fundamentals that have helped us to survive and to succeed. There's much work to be done, I think, in all the ministries. I look forward certainly to the new responsibilities that the PM has entrusted me with, coordinating Minister for National Security, looking after a number of the key inter-ministry areas like population and also climate change. And also the Ministry of Home Affairs is a very large ministry, important ministry with complex issues which affect everyone's lives. I look forward to this new challenge and to working with the teams in the various departments and also with the home team in the Ministry of Home Affairs.
Tharman?
Well, if I could perhaps respond to one of the earlier questions about whether this is a reaction, whether the composition of the team and our attitude to policy is a reaction to the GE. We obviously take lessons from the GE, and it would be foolish not to study what happened, how people responded, and think through what it implies for both the PAP as well as government. But this is basically a positive and forward-looking agenda that we are embarked upon. And the freshness of the team, I think, is a plus in moving into this new terrain, a society that's evolved, an economy that's evolving, and an international environment that is frankly far more complex. Having a new team has some disadvantages because you lose some experience, but it also brings some pluses. Individual ministers who are willing to relook policy parameters, look at things afresh, that's a real plus. But it's a positive, forward-looking agenda. How do we make Singapore a better place 10 years from now, for all Singaporeans? The PAP manifesto laid out the major planks, but each of those planks requires a lot of work, a lot of refinement, and a lot of not just following through what we said we will do, but listening to the ground, talking to different groups of people, and making sure especially, and I'd perhaps place emphasis on this, making sure especially that we look out for people who fall between the cracks of eligibility criteria, people who seem to be doing okay but are dissatisfied in one aspect or another of their lives. I think we're dealing quite ambitiously with the poor in Singapore compared to many other places. Still can improve though. We need a lot more support networks on the ground, social workers who are able to tell who needs more care and who needs more of a push to get a job and to be responsible for their families. We need much better coordination in how we help people on the ground, not just one ministry and another, but government working together. And I think we need to do a lot more for re-engaging with the middle class. You can call it a sandwich group, but that's just a phrase. It's the majority of Singaporeans who have pride in themselves as Singaporeans and who have some areas of dissatisfaction that we have to deal with head on. The middle class is basically mainstream Singapore, and we've got to re-engage with them. The majority voted for the PAP, but voting for the PAP doesn't mean you agree entirely with the PAP. And it's a class that requires engaging with, listening to, and developing a new set of bonds going forward. But it's a positive, forward-looking agenda and not a reaction to what happened in the GE.
Yes, Pale.
PM, two questions. One, there is news that the PM Tharman name is being mentioned as the next IMF chief. So I don't know how far it's true. But with the new positions, can you please enlighten me on that? And secondly, have you decided who is the next Speaker of Parliament?
I have not heard about the next IMF chief. Are you going there?
Well, fortunately, the new cabinet has been announced, so that puts paid to any such rumours.
I haven't decided who will be the new speaker. Okay, last question.
Can I say something about MINDEF as well?
Yes.
Well, with regard, you asked me about the ministries which I'm going to. I'd also like to say something about the ministries which I came from, and particularly the Ministry of Defence. Ministry of Defence is a key ministry in Singapore. I've had the privilege of working with many fine people in the Ministry of Defence over many years. I, in fact, had asked the Prime Minister then to send me a strong second minister in Dr. Hean to be the second minister in the Ministry of Defence, with a view to having somebody to test ideas with when I was in the Ministry of Defence, and also with a view to having him take over. I've always run the Ministry of Defence in a way in which I've told my people it must be possible for you to run the Ministry of Defence with a minister who has not served previously for long periods of time in the SAF. And they understand that fully, and that's the way that we've run the Ministry of Defence. And I'm confident that the SAF and our defence will be in good hands with Dr. Ng.
Last question. Lee Hong? Okay, go first and Lee Hong.
PM, I'm Yuan from Business Times. Can I ask, with MM and SM now stepping down and you have appointed them as senior advisors, what sort of role, more active role do you hope they will play at GIC and MAS, and will they also remain as chairman of?
No, they will not remain as chairman. At MAS, Tharman will be taking over as chairman. At GIC, I will be taking over as chairman. It's an honorary title. It doesn't mean he's in cabinet. He's not in cabinet. It means he has retired, but it's just an emeritus title to recognize his contributions and to signify our respect and our regard for him. So we call him the Emeritus Senior Minister. Sorry? Well, for the time being they are here. Longer term, we have not made. We will think about the arrangements. We have not thought about that yet.
PM, did you make a similar offer to Professor Jayakumar?
No, I did not. All right. Thank you very much.